Humiliation doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people who think they are better than you. People who smile at you in public and laugh at you in private. I learned that the hard way while cleaning floors in a mansion where I used to be treated like I didn't matter. But what they didn't know was simple. I wasn't always the cleaner in that house. And one day, the new owner walked in and called me something that changed everything. Mom, my name is Rachel Anderson. I am 36 years old, and I live in Los Angeles, USA. And this is the story of how I was mocked for cleaning a mansion, until the truth walked back into that house and changed everything. It started with survival. After everything in my life fell apart, marriage, stability, reputation, I needed work. Not prestige. Not respect. Just survival. So I took the only job available quickly. Cleaning staff in a large private mansion in Beverly Hills. I didn't ask questions. I just needed income. The mansion belonged to a wealthy family. Cold people. Arrogant people. The kind who don't look at you unless they need something cleaned. From the first day, I was invisible. Until I was. The first time they laughed at me, I was wiping the marble floors in the main hall. One of the daughters of the house walked past with her friends. She looked at me and smirked. "She's still cleaning," she said loudly. And they all laughed. Like I wasn't even human. Just part of the furniture. After that it became normal. Snide comments. Small insults. Fake kindness in front of others. And laughter behind closed doors. But I kept working. Because pride doesn't pay rent. But what hurt the most wasn't the mocking. It was the way they assumed I would stay there forever. Like I had no past. No identity. No future. Just cleaning. One evening, I overheard something that stayed with me. "She probably has nowhere else to go," one of them said. And they laughed again. That was the moment something inside me changed. Not anger. Not sadness. Something quieter. Decision. I stopped reacting. Stopped responding. Stopped showing emotion. Because people who underestimate you don't change when you argue. They change when reality hits them. Days turned into weeks. I cleaned every corner of that mansion, quietly observing everything. Every room. Every schedule. Every habit of the people who lived there. Not because I cared, but because I was learning. Then one morning, everything shifted. Security increased. Staff were told a new owner was taking over the estate. The family that used to mock me started panicking. Selling, transferring, preparing. But I stayed calm. Because something about the situation felt familiar. Too familiar. The day the new owner arrived, everything stopped. Cars outside. Silence inside. Even the people who used to laugh at me were now standing quietly in expensive clothes, pretending to matter. I was cleaning the entrance hallway when it happened. The door opened. And he walked in. Young. Confident. Calm. But something about him made my chest tighten immediately. Because I knew that face. Even if time had changed it. Even if life had shaped it differently. I knew him. He stepped inside slowly. Looked around the mansion. Then his eyes stopped. On me. I froze. Because he didn't look confused. He looked certain. Like he had been searching for something. Or someone. And then it happened. He walked directly toward me. In front of everyone. In front of the people who used to laugh at me. And said one word. Mom. The entire room went silent. Not quiet. Silent. Like the world had stopped reacting. I dropped the cleaning cloths. My hands were shaking. Because I recognized him now, not as a stranger, but as my son. The same son I hadn't seen properly in years. The same son I thought I had lost completely to time and distance. Standing in front of me, in control of everything I was just cleaning. The people who mocked me earlier didn't speak. They couldn't, because everything they believed about me was collapsing in real time. He turned slightly, looked at them, then said calmly, "She's not your cleaner." A pause. "She's my mother." The silence after that felt different. Not empty, heavy, because now they understood something they never expected. The woman they laughed at was not beneath them. She was connected to the person who now owned everything. And I just stood there, unable to move. Not because I was weak, but because life had just rewritten itself in front of me. The moment he called me Mom, everything in that mansion changed. Not slowly, not subtly, instantly. Because the same people who were laughing seconds ago suddenly forgot how to breathe. I still couldn't move. My mind was trying to catch up with what my eyes were seeing. My son, standing there, confident, successful. And now, the owner of the mansion I had been cleaning like I was nothing. One of the girls from earlier let out a nervous laugh. This is some kind of joke, right? But no one answered her. Because my son didn't smile. He didn't blink. He just looked at them like they had already lost. He finally spoke again. "I came here to inspect my property." A pause. Then he added, "And I didn't expect to find my mother working as staff." The word staff hit harder than anything they had ever said to me. Because now the roles were reversed. Completely. The woman who used to mock me stepped back slightly. Her voice changed. "Wait, you're his mother." Now it wasn't laughter. It was panic disguised as confusion. My son looked at her. "Yes." Just one word. Final. And then he looked around the room. Slowly. Calmly. Like he was measuring every face that had ever disrespected me. "I want a list of everyone who worked here," he said to his assistant. A pause. "And I want records of how my mother was treated." Silence again. Because now they understood. This wasn't an emotional reunion. It was accountability arriving. One of the staff members tried to speak. "She never told us." My son cut her off immediately. "She didn't need to." His voice stayed calm, but it carried weight. Then he turned to me, and his expression softened for the first time. "You should have called me." I looked at him, and for a moment I didn't know what to say. Because pride had kept me silent longer than pain ever did. "I didn't want pity," I finally said. He shook his head. "This isn't pity." A pause. "This is respect you were denied." The mansion felt different now. The same walls, the same floors, but the energy had shifted completely. Because everyone inside now understood something irreversible. I was not just a cleaner in that house. I was connected to the person who now controlled it. And the ones who laughed, they were no longer laughing. They were calculating, afraid, regretting every word. My son looked at them again. "This place will be audited." That sentence made one of them drop their phone. Because audits don't care about attitude. They care about truth. One by one, people started leaving the room. No jokes, no smirks, just silence and urgency. Because power had shifted. And they felt it. When the room finally emptied, it was just me and him. He walked closer. Not as an owner, but as a son. "I didn't know where you were for a long time," he said quietly. I nodded. I didn't want you involved in my struggle. He looked down for a moment, then said something simple. But you were never meant to struggle alone. That broke something inside me. Not sadness, not regret. Relief. Because for years I had been invisible. And now, I was finally seen. Not as staff, not as background, but as someone who mattered. Weeks later, everything in that mansion changed. Investigations, firings, replacements, and a full restructuring of how staff were treated. Not because of anger, but because truth had entered the building. And me, I didn't stay silent anymore. I didn't stay invisible anymore. Because I had learned something important. People don't respect you when you accept disrespect. They respect you when reality forces them to. One evening, my son stood beside me again, looking at the same mansion where I once cleaned floors alone. And he said softly, "No one here will ever forget who you are again." And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.